Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is March 29th, 2022. This is episode 493. We're looking at Immortal Swordsmen. Now it looks like Swordmen, but there's actually an S in there. I can verify it by the inner cover, but maybe they just left it off here because that person's head is in the way. This is a number one. It comes out from Immortal Comics, and this is based on the Chronicles of the Immortal Swordsmen. Okay, nice cover here. Kind of not quite sure who everyone here is. I believe that is Phil. I believe this is the mysterious woman. This is the guy I don't think they ever really introduced. This is Lady Wu, and that is Yang Chang. Okay. And it got some nice pose. And a pretty nice composition on here. This is a number one if I haven't mentioned it. It came in at a whopping $6.99. Now, that's a lot more than I usually spend on a comic. I didn't know what it was, what the price was when I bought it. I probably would not have bought it, but it didn't have a price in the cover. So when I took it up to the counter, they rang up at $6.99. Now I go, well, it is a thicker book. The quality of the comic is very good. This is a not recommend, by the way. I'm going to start off right there. And I'll get into that, why I'm not recommending this. Quality of the book, though, is very nice. Very thick pages, very thick cover. It's got some kind of embossment on it that appears almost like a 3D. And I just realized it today on my second read-through that this is actually a signed copy. I have no idea whose the signature is for on this, though. I bought it from the Comic Bug in Manhattan Beach, so they might have had a signing that day, or a day pretty close to when this came out. I believe it came out last week. So I was in there, I don't know if I was there on Wednesday or I just can't remember if it was Wednesday, Thursday, or what. But anyway, we'll take a look at this. Now, this Immortal Comics, I want to mention, I think it's a new company because there was a couple other books out there, or at least one called The Adept. I did take a look at that. I passed on that one. I don't know if it's a tie-in with this one, The Adept. I do not know. But let's go ahead and take a look to see who worked on it. This is a little tough to see. You can see it's got the S on this one. It did not show up on the cover like this. And it's adapted from book one of the Chronicles of the Immortal Swordsmen, written by Au-Yeung. Now, this adaptation has a couple authors on it. It's Peter Shiro and Brian Buccellato. I hope I said that right. The artist is Pop Mon, and Rex Okus is it's a colorist, and the letterer is Jerome Bennett. We also have a couple editors on here. Boy, those are really tough to read. This font is not very good. Let's see, Hank Maneliz and Emma Chibula. I don't know. And I'm not sure what this one in the bottom is. Editorial, there you go, Florence Au-Yeung. And we have some variant covers here. We'll take a quick look at those. Okay, so this is a great value. $6.99 is expensive, but you get 49 pages, which is more than double a normal comic. So at $3.99, double that would be $8. This came in at $7. And you actually get a few extra pages on top of that. The art in it I would rate as good to very good. At times it was very good, I thought. The colorist did a very nice job, but things kind of really popped or separated nicely. It wasn't hard to figure things out. So on those things, I think they did a very good job. The dialogue itself is fine. And the letterer did a good job as well. Now, my issues with this are the story. It's the story, okay? I think it could have used a developmental editor, or story editor, something like that. I know there's 2 editors listed here, but I don't know if that was just for proofreading, because this is an adaptation from a book. Now I understand that's got to be a tough go to have this, 300-page book and then to form a 49-page comic out of it, trying to capture everything. But in this, there seems to be a lot of hanging threads. They bring up things that they don't seem to resolve, not at least in this issue. And it's 49 pages. You'd think they could resolve something. But they have something called the reckoning. They never really say what that is. We don't know what's going on here, whether he's breathing in or out. I'm assuming he is breathing in. He starts to, I guess, somehow take the life force or the soul or something from this homeless man here. This is Yang Chang, by the way. The names in here are incredibly bothersome to me. It's like Lady Wu, Yang Chang, Ying Ying, Phil, and Pris, and Phil's gamer name is Iron Pond. So there you go. I think they could have been a little bit more, with the detail of this art and such, I think they could have been a little bit more imaginative with some of those names. Okay, so basically we really don't know why this guy's here. They talk about a purple adept who has disappeared. I don't assume this is the purple adept, but he's got his red vortal blade that he is absconded with. So these 2 others come from, I guess these were all like a brotherhood or something of Tao. They don't really go into that. They bring up a mystical mountain in here and something called the True Man's Cave, I believe it is, which they don't really go into a lot of detail on that. They don't really say what it is. But it appears that cave appears in a video game. So that's what this is all going to kind of lead to. I believe that's what's going on. So we have these 2 characters here, this guy and this guy. This guy eventually, and there was a typo here, I think they called him something of the nails. I can't remember, and then they changed it slightly in another spot. So you can see there's this battle. Now, instead of having these long, drawn-out battles, which were really nicely drawn, and the action was good, and the figures didn't look stiff and all that, I think they should have gone into a little more detail what they were fighting over, because you just don't know. And maybe this is supposed to be an addition to the book if you've read it. I just don't know. But we get these pretty nice fight scenes. We get the main guy doing this breathing in or breathing out. I'm not quite sure what is going on. They've let the homeless man go, and he's able to control this sword somehow and send it all over. Plus, he can send these little spikes out of his fingertips. You can see up here. Those are kind of his weapon. And there's, you can see them all dodging these things. So a lot of exciting stuff as far as the fight goes. And you can see the large man takes it somehow. I'm not sure what exactly happens to him, but he is down for the count after all these other things happen. And Lady Wu goes off by herself, leaving Yang Chang, I don't know, behind. He says he's no longer the man of the golden needles. I think they had golden needle somewhere else. He's now the piercer. So he has transformed himself. Meanwhile, we go back here, and it's on the second read-through I realized this is inside a video game. So we've got this character walking along. He says this is the place he feels at home with. And then he sees this mysterious figure, and he has to follow her. And we get a good shot of what she looks like. He loses her, and then he finds her again sometime later, I guess weeks later. He runs across her and chases her, only to be sucked down. But he sees these visions of a castle as well, or this mysterious hill or something. Never really goes into that, so you don't know who she is in this, at least in this issue. Probably comes up later in the next issue. But then he still has these visions while he's in the game of this deserted town with like a metropolis behind it. And boom, suddenly he takes off his VR glasses and he realizes the power's out. Now you can see this is Phil. He has the gamer name of Iron Pond. And apparently they turned off the electricity because he didn't pay the bill. Now this guy can do parkour. He's a kung fu expert. And he has a job, yet he has got no money. And so he goes to a fast cash place, gets a really bad deal on some cash, runs off to work. He's working in construction, and the boss gives him a hard time, of course. Now you see a guy in a red shirt in this. It means it's going to give him a hard time. He'll either give him a hard time or do some racial slurs, as he is, I believe, Chinese in this story. He gets fired for tripping over a toolbox. Now that's an OSHA. that's a crime to have stuff laying around like that on a construction site. So, but he gets fired for doing it, which seems a little out of place. So not only does he not have money, but now he has just lost his job. And he's called a couple names by this Hispanic man, a couple Hispanic slurs. He goes out to his car, which is a really nice looking car. I think this is supposed to be in the future, and it's been booted because I guess he didn't pay his parking tickets. Now we got a guy coming up kind of in a reddish shirt, and of course he does a few slurs. In the meantime, he starts having those visions again, what he had in the game, of a city that's been destroyed, and he says, oh, it's normal. Then he gets a note on his phone, overdrawn 200. It just gets worse and worse. So he heads to Chinatown, I guess, within his own metropolis. He sees a homeless woman, gives her the rest of the money that he has, even though he has nothing now. And we have, what happened? Is that right? Yeah, okay. Okay, so then he goes to visit his friend Pris, I guess, who works in a bookshop or something like that in this Chinatown. And she's part of a gaming community, or they're on a team together, and they're trying to win prize money. But she loans him more money anyway. And then we have a switch back to Yang Chi, and he is visioning all these other people that he has a hunger for whatever reason. I still don't know. I guess he gains power somehow from it. I mean, the art in that's pretty good. I thought it was a really good job. But he has some kind of master that looks over for him. So you see the master up here above this dome. And he shuts it off. And he's got the symbol going. He says, I need to feed the reckonings here. And then we have, I believe that's the homeless guy from the first scene, because he's got the same yellow shirt as the beard, same color hair. And he's got that same insignia on the forehead, screaming something about a reckoning. Phil bumps into Yang Chi, and as he sees his balance is $35, and he sees food he wants to eat. Meanwhile, Yang Chi is harassing the homeless guy, and no one seems to care. And then another guy is racially slurring some woman, so Phil gives him a good roundhouse kick, beats him up for some reason, and the woman says, you are better than that, and so he makes the guy run off, and for some reason Phil runs off. I'm not sure why. But he runs past the alley, and we can see that the homeless man is now apparently dead. Yang Chi has fed for whatever. But he runs off. Phil runs off to the tournament of game players here. And this was confusing. There's another inconsistency here. And maybe, this is my OCD kicking in, I think. Because they're showing these teams of 5 players, right? And these are actually the same players on the same 2 different screens. And he's in a team, and they're saying, oh, I'm glad you could make it. You're always late, blah, blah, blah. He goes, don't worry about it. I'm a great player. And they shoot into the game to start, and there's 6 players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I don't know why all of a sudden there's 6 players. We're not really introduced to the four of them. Two of them don't have any lines, and the other two have a couple lines, and that's it. But this is Priscilla, that's Phil, or Pris, as they say, or this is Iron Pond, as everybody else knows him. So one of them eats an apple, powers up. It looks more like she's getting killed, but it's a power-up move. But Phil seems to know his way around this game really well. He says, come on, let's get out of here. Go this way, don't go that way. And you can see the other group is destroyed because they went the wrong way, which is kind of cool, I guess. So everybody in the stadium is watching, what's going on. They can't believe that Iron Pond is leading the team Brick House through this so easily. And they come up against a serpent. Somebody tries to take it on. He says, no, I can do this. And he does his magic. He seems to have these moves that no one's ever seen before. And he's not only is he playing, but he's texting to Pris at the same time, which I don't think you would do that in a tournament. I mean, because you'd want to, keep it together. I don't know if he's texting. I'm assuming he's texting. So he says, okay, I can see things that you guys can. I noticed the cave that we are supposed to go to is up there, and that is that True Man's Cave, I believe. And he also can see this castle or this town or something up there. They don't see it. And all of a sudden, the muse from his game playing shows up and distracts him. And he goes after her instead of leading the group up the hill. And disaster strikes as they all die while he's off chasing the woman. Because this is apparently a serpent that cannot be killed. So they're all ticked off at him. Game's over. They're out, even though they went pretty far in the game, apparently. Hard to tell. They don't say what levels. But he goes off and does kind of a Spider-Man type thing throughout the city. Because he's got time to do all that. And meanwhile, he thinks of what the woman told him, that he was meant for something different. And just look within yourself. And suddenly he sees this bright sky. He says, I am listening. Meanwhile, a group of white people in red shirts come upon him and start beating him up. Now, I just want to say, there's a lot of, Asian hate has been in the news a lot in the last year or so. The problem is, it's not usually white people that have been doing the hating, even though the media will tell you that it's a white supremacist or whatever. In fact, it's 85% of a certain group that are doing that. And I'm not talking about the Asian on Asian hate or violence. I'm talking another race group against Asians. However, the word is not out there, so hopefully they'll get the word now. Okay, so he's knocked out, but he sees someone else coming to his aid. And this is Au-Yeung. So we've been introduced to a ton of characters, but we have no character development. All we know is Phil is good at parkour. He's got a good heart. He is good at kung fu. He can fight for himself pretty well, unless he's totally outnumbered. And he seems to have the worst luck in the world. I mean, a normal person without those skills that he has would be dead probably before they got out of the driveway. But Phil here, he lost his job, got his car booted, he's out of money, he doesn't have any food, he's about to get beat up by a bunch of groups, and he's somehow saved by Au-Yeung. Like I said, the names in this weren't anything too spectacular. They weren't imaginative in my estimation. The story seems like it does have potential, but it just doesn't seem to go anywhere in this. Okay, with that said, here's another book coming out from Immortal Comics, Assassin. You got that symbol there, Assassin G. I don't know if that's indicative of that symbol up there. Two warring families, two masters, martial artists, two hearts forbidden. So maybe it's a Romeo and Juliet type story. It's got a different team on it than this book. And then we have another book here coming soon. Even the greatest Shaolin master had to start somewhere. It's Fa Sheng, Ryland Grant. There you go. So, not a recommend. Unfortunately, I think it's a good comic put together very well. Just the story really suffers, unimaginative, and the main character, he's just seems too unbelievable that someone with so much talent is just has so much bad luck and bad, what do you want to call it? Making bad decisions as well. So thank you for stopping by and watching my YouTube video review of the comic book Chronicles of the Immortal Swordmen or Swordsmen. As always, please like, please subscribe, please leave comments, and we'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. This is Indie Comics Jones. Whew, it's tax time and I got a ton of tax stuff to do. Not looking forward to that. So I'll be bidding you adieu from the Temple of Tomes. Take care. See you next time.